we are talking today about 10 tasty ways to boost brain health and improve mood. So food is magical. There we go. Okay. Food is magical, plant-based foods in particular, in the way that they can really transform the body and the mind. And that's definitely a focus. That's really what is one of the foundations that I personally practice and also share with my clients and any nutrition education that I'm doing is that it's such a foundation to health, a healthy body and a healthy mind. However, there are many modalities. So on my website, purelyplanted.com, I have the 10 pillars of health where I share many of the modalities that really affect body and mind health, including the brain. So things like, yes, plant-based eating or eating healthy to support a healthy brain and mind, but also things like stress management that's so critical for supporting a healthy body and mind, getting out in nature, connecting with one another. So just connecting with family and friends, so important. And we all learned that through COVID, I'm sure, when we didn't have that same connection. Sleep is like one of the key foundations. And what's interesting is that all of these things feed into each other. It's not like one thing can benefit the body and the mind, but all of these things together can affect each other. So poor sleep can affect what you choose throughout the day to eat. What you eat can affect your sleep. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that throughout the presentation. There we go. Okay. So focusing today on the power of plants. There are two things in plant-based foods that really shine, just really outshine other foods, and that's fiber. And Olivia mentioned I wrote the book, The Fiber Effect, because fiber does so much more than keeping us regular. Of course, that's really important and can definitely make us happy when we're regular, but it does so much more. And you see all over the news now the gut-brain connection. That gut-brain health is a thing. I mean, there's science being uncovered every single day about the benefit of gut health for overall body health. If your gut isn't happy, then you're going to have inflammation of the entire body, and you're also going to have inflammation of the brain. So fiber is really important because that is the foundation of a healthy gut. And here's a fun fact. Less than 5% of the American population gets enough fiber in a day. So many people are following a standard American diet, lots of dairy and meat, eggs, which don't have any fiber. Plant-based foods, that's where you're going to find all of the fiber. So loading up your plate, even if you are currently consuming meat and dairy, at least adding some plant-based foods to your plate is important. So loading up your plate with plant-based foods is going to help to get you to the fiber amount that you need throughout the day, which is approximately 30 to 40 grams a day. Some people, I've analyzed diets for folks that are eating all plant-based, and if they've been consuming plant-based for a long time, they may be on the upper chart with like 95 grams of fiber a day. I've seen it, they can tolerate it well, but it's not something that you want to do overnight. If you're only getting 15 grams of fiber a day, if you go to 95 grams of fiber a day, you're not going to like me for that recommendation. So increasing fiber slowly is really important. Vitamins and minerals. As you can see from this plate on the slide, there are lots of colors and a variety of foods. So by choosing a variety of plant-based foods, you're getting lots of vitamins and minerals that are going to help your body and your brain thrive. Phytonutrients. So the colors on this plate come from what's called phytochemicals or phytonutrients, some people call them. They're not essential for us to survive, but they're really important in keeping inflammation at bay. Many of these phytonutrients that give plant-based foods their colors are, they act like antioxidants. So they help to keep inflammation at bay, including inflammation in the brain. So getting a variety of plant-based foods is really important. And then fermented foods, so things like sauerkraut, kimchi, plant-based yogurt that has probiotics, miso, which is a condiment used in a lot of Asian cooking. It's delicious. It has like umami flavor. These things help to work with the fiber because you're adding healthy bacteria to the gut. And because these healthy bacteria like to eat the fiber, and they produce compounds that help the brain thrive. So just to sum that up, a diet that is rich in fiber-rich foods or plant-based foods, a wide variety of plants, and adding just a couple tablespoons of fermented foods a day could really enhance gut health, which has a direct communication with the brain. Okay, so tip number one, the tasty way of moving into the tasty way of eating plant-based foods to help your brain and your mood. A handful of berries every day. I'm sure all of you have heard that berries are really wonderful for memory. They had a lot of media attention years ago when there was a lot of research supporting their benefit in memory and brain health. And this is because of their high phytonutrient content. So all berries are fantastic. Blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, cranberries, any berries that you love or that are accessible to you, add them to your diet. If you can daily, that's great. But what's interesting is that one study, if you see at the end of this slide, one study found that women who consume just 2 or more servings of strawberries or blueberries each week delayed memory decline by up to 2.5 years. So even adding them a few times throughout the week, so incorporating them in oatmeal, a handful of them for a snack is great. I like to add them to salad sometimes. It adds a little natural sweetness to salad. So any way that you can incorporate berries is fantastic. And frozen are great too. Right now, the time of the year, we're not able to get fresh berries as often, at least not locally. So frozen is also a great option. And then berries are also high in vitamin C that's been shown to help with anxiety relief. So these colorful foods that you're seeing, the plant-based foods, are many of them are rich in vitamin C. So just 1 cup of strawberries, fun fact at the end, 1 cup of strawberries has 100% of the vitamin C that you need in the day. And I also wanted to just say that in my slides, I apologize in advance that there is quite a bit of words on my slides because I like to provide all the information. There's so many research studies supporting the benefits of the foods we're about to talk about today. And I wanted to provide you with all of the nutrition information you can get just kind of in a snapshot. And I've got the research to support it if you'd like that at the end. But yeah, so if you're a visual learner and you want to go back and look at the slides, then hopefully the information is here for you. If you just want to look at the beautiful food photos on the slides, and you can do that and just listen as well. Okay, so next, leafy greens. So leafy greens are tricky because they're not a convenience food. They're not a food that everybody loves. So many of, not so many, but there are leafy greens that are extra bitter. There are some that are more neutral in flavor. So something like romaine is pretty common to most people and pretty palatable to most people, but something like kale, if you're not used to eating kale daily, it can taste very bitter to your palate. But here's a fun fact. Your taste buds change every 7 to 11 days. So if you start incorporating foods that you don't really love into your diet, just a little bit, daily, your taste buds will slowly adapt to the bitter flavors. So I'm using this as an example. So kale, if you're like a super taster of bitter foods, and kale is just really off-putting to you, maybe try just a little bit, or you could try a milder leafy green, like maybe mustard greens or collards that may not be as bitter as kale, and just gradually add some of these bitter foods onto your plate. And you may find that your palate adapts over time and they may not be as bitter to you anymore. The other thing is with leafy greens, you can try them in a variety of ways. So some people really don't love the taste of raw kale, but if you make them into kale chips, they taste delicious and you don't taste any bitterness. You can season them with, any seasonings like a Mexican spice blend or a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper, and bake them in the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for like 30 minutes, and they come out nice and crispy, and it's a great substitute for like a potato chip. And then you're also getting your leafy greens for the day. So the reason why you want to add leafy greens to everything is because they've also been shown to slow decline in cognition. And again, look at that bright, beautiful green hue. That is due to the phytonutrients that are in leafy greens. So they've got lots of carotenes, which is the vitamin A version in plants, folate, which is essential for brain health, lutein. These are all phytonutrients, and then quinone is vitamin K. So also an excellent source of folate. What I wanted to mention about a lot of these, like the folate and some of the other minerals that we're going to talk about today, the essential minerals, is that they're important for producing neurotransmitters. So you probably hear about serotonin and melatonin helps us sleep. Serotonin is our feel-good neurotransmitter. So these essential vitamins and minerals that we're talking about today are key in producing these neurotransmitters that help to promote a good mood and good feeling. And then they're also rich in iron, another mineral that is important in producing neurotransmitters. Magnesium is a mineral, it's essential for us, that 50% of the population does not get enough of, and it's very high in leafy greens. So again, kale, collard greens. If, again, you're not used to eating leafy greens daily, maybe start with romaine and then add some spinach to some of the more neutral flavors. And then, or you can do, like if you do a salad, a combination of half romaine and little bits of kale, or a combination of 3 greens. So just maybe getting creative and how you're adding your leafy greens. You can even chop it up and hide it in soups and casseroles and that sort of thing, and you won't even know it's there. There's one other fun thing about kale that was recently discovered. Kale has a type of carbohydrate in it that feeds healthy bacteria in our gut, and it crowds out the bacteria that does not serve our best health. So there's like an extra bonus point for kale there. Okay, so swapping beans for meat, or if you're already not consuming meat as a part of your daily diet, eating beans daily may help. So if you're familiar with the blue zones are the zones in the world that that were discovered by a National Geographic researcher, Dan Buettner, that live the longest, where people who have the best quality of life and the longest lifespan. So these are centenarians, so 100 years and older, these people are living, and they're not just living to 100 years, but they're not in nursing homes, they're not in assisted living, they're at home, they're working, they're engaged with their community, they're working in their garden, they're doing things that you would do at a much younger age, but they're living these really long, healthy lives. And one of the foods that is consistent across all 5 zones, which is there is a zone in Italy, Loma Linda, California, Japan, let me see, Costa Rica, Nicoya Peninsula, Costa Rica, and then Ikara, Greece. So those are the 5 zones. They all consume beans daily, a cup of beans daily. So just by adding beans, and it doesn't even have to be a cup, by maybe gradually adding them into your diet if you're not used to eating them right now, even a quarter of a cup, starting small, because beans do have a lot of fiber and can sometimes be hard to tolerate if you're not used to eating them. They're so important to incorporate. Definitely swapping them out for meat can add loads of benefits, because you're getting rid of the saturated fat in meat, which can be inflammatory. So saturated fat is very inflammatory for both gut health and brain health. And beans don't have that saturated fat, or a very low amount. Plus they have the fiber and the phytonutrients that are going to help to fight inflammation. So again, with the slide, which is saying that there's little to no saturated fat, you reduce inflammation. And then also there are studies showing that plant-based protein, beans are a very rich source of plant-based protein. Plant-based protein may promote better sleep compared to meat protein. And then the beans are also rich in B vitamins, folate, magnesium, and iron. Again, these essential nutrients that are key in producing our feel-good neurotransmitters. Okay, I know this slide has a lot on it. And again, I apologize, it's got a lot, but I get really excited about grains because there's really some solid research showing the benefit of whole grains. And I hear so many folks still saying, I don't want the carbs, or I'm trying to avoid the carbs. And there's definitely a difference between whole grains and ultra processed carbs. So the types of carbohydrate you find in cakes and cookies and packaged goods or like, but potato chips, those are definitely going to be the carbohydrates that don't serve your best health. And if you have them once in a while, and there's no shame in that. We've all had cakes at a party and enjoy indulgences sometimes, but whole grains like oatmeal, brown rice, bulgur, buckwheat, quinoa, quinoa is technically a seed, but it's classified as a grain because it has similar carbohydrate and fiber content as grains. Grains are so beneficial for gut health. There was one review looking at 23 studies that found that people who ate the most grains had the lowest scores for mood disorders, including the lowest scores for things like depression and anxiety. So grains can help mitigate some of these symptoms that come along with depression and anxiety. And then I just break down some of the studies that they looked at below that. 3 of the studies found that brown rice and whole grains improve mood, depression, and fatigue. One study found that whole wheat help to mitigate some of the symptoms of PMS, like mood disorders around PMS. Higher intake of breakfast cereal like oatmeal or buckwheat cereal has been associated with lower rates of depression. So just looking at whole grains as like a friend and not a foe, and incorporating them into your diet, whether you start your morning with warm oatmeal or buckwheat, or maybe experiment with some of the seedy grains like amaranth or millet porridge. There's such a variety of grains. There's a website that I recommend, is the Whole Grains Council. I didn't put it on here, but I can provide it at the end if you like. But Whole Grains Council has a list of all the whole grains, how you can use them, the nutritional benefits. And what's cool is that they also bring their own nutritional benefits. So for example, teff, which is used a lot in like Ethiopian cuisine, teff is one of the richest sources of iron. So it would be a great way to get some plant-based iron. But many of the grains are rich in iron, but that just happens to be like the star of the show when we're talking about iron. So getting a variety, like experiment and have fun with trying a variety of grains. And the reason why that researchers feel that the whole grains are benefiting mood so much is because, first of all, carbohydrate. Our brain prefers carbohydrate over any other fuel source, over protein or fat. So they're a source of carbohydrate, very abundant in fiber. So the fiber and the whole grains definitely help with gut health. And there have been studies showing that whole grains can help diversify the bacteria in their gut and produce healthy bacteria, which helps to reduce inflammation. And then again, B vitamins, vitamin E, and these are all essential for brain function and mood. Okay, an ounce a day of walnuts for mood and memory. Walnuts are getting a lot of research behind them recently too, and that's because they are super abundant in omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are so important for inflammation throughout the body, and then also in the brain, of course. So just an ounce of walnuts have more than your daily recommendation for omega-3 fatty acids, which is 1.6 grams a day for men and 1.1 grams a day for women. So 1 ounce. And if you're not able to consume walnuts because of a nut allergy, or if you don't enjoy walnuts, we're coming up on another option that can substitute walnuts. So hang in there just a second. They also contain tryptophan. That is an essential amino acid that is essential for making serotonin and melatonin. So again, serotonin is that feel-good neurotransmitter, and melatonin, as you probably know, helps us sleep soundly. It's like our cue that we're ready for sleep. So walnuts, if you're looking for a snack before bedtime to help you sleep soundly, maybe trying some plant-based yogurt that's unsweetened, because sugar can disrupt sleep. So unsweetened plant-based yogurt with berries and walnuts, because you've got some constituents in there, some nutrients in there. They're going to help to produce melatonin, help you relax with that magnesium, and it may help you sleep more soundly. Okay, so avocado toast, or any way you enjoy avocado, is great. But avocado toast is always fun and delicious if you like a savory breakfast. So avocado is chock full of healthy fats, and the type of fat in avocado, the monounsaturated fat, is important for creating another neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which is really important for learning and memory. So the type of fat in avocado is really healthy for the brain. Avocados are also rich in vitamin C, which, as I mentioned earlier, can help to mitigate anxiety, and then vitamin E, B6, folate, and carotenoids, all essential for brain health. And I didn't mention in the beginning that all of the research tying in food and mood and brain health, the underlying reason they feel that the brain, we start to lose memory as we age, or we feel symptoms of depression. So much of it is related to inflammation. So the reason why the foods that we're discussing today are so important is because they have all of these anti-inflammatory compounds. So the fiber and all the phytonutrients that are fighting inflammation will fight inflammation in the brain. Okay, so an interesting fact, I love when I found out that one avocado had almost 10 grams of fiber. I almost fell off my chair. I was like, what? That's, because it's so creamy, you think, it's a rich source of fat, but 10 grams of fiber too. It's such a great way to get in a third of your fiber intake for the day. So enjoying avocado toast, adding avocado to smoothies, making a salad dressing out of avocado and some lime juice and some seasonings would be delicious, and you'd have a high fiber salad dressing. Oh, and I also wanted to mention here, this study I found interesting. Some folks I know don't love avocado by itself, but will definitely enjoy some chips and guacamole. So good news there, that the guacamole serves the same purpose. And there's one study that showed that consumers who either enjoyed avocado or guacamole had better cognitive scores compared to those who did not have any avocado at all. Okay, so if walnuts are not your thing, or if you're unable to enjoy walnuts, the seed can take the place of walnuts, or the seed trio can take the place of walnuts. So seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, and chia seeds are packed with omega-3s. Again, so essential for brain health. What I love to do and recommend that folks do to get a variety of nutrients is taking those 3 seeds and grinding them in either a spice grinder or a coffee grinder, and keeping them in your fridge and adding a tablespoon or 2 to your oatmeal daily, to a stir fry. I sprinkle them on avocado toast in the morning. You can add them to smoothies. So there's lots of ways you can add these seeds, and they can add a little crunch. They add healthy fats. And the reason why I recommend the 3 of them, going back to that, variety is key. It's so important to get a variety of plant-based foods. So chia seeds are jam-packed with fiber. They have so much fiber, whereas hemp seeds have less fiber, but they have a lot of protein. And flax meal has some fiber and some protein, a little bit less than the both, but they have a phytonutrient called isoflavones, and those isoflavones act like antioxidants. So when you add the 3 together, you're just getting a variety of nutrients that are going to really foster good physical health and mental health. Mushrooms. Okay, so gosh, mushrooms are everywhere right now. I remember my mom brought home granola bars, and she's allergic to mushrooms. And we always looked at the labels. We didn't think about looking at granola bars, because why would mushrooms be in granola bars? But they were. There was mushroom powder in the granola bars. So they're getting so much street cred because of the research that's behind them. They really are just a superfood. All of these foods are superfoods in their own right. But mushrooms, you don't need much. Obviously, if you're allergic like my mom, you don't want to consume them. But for anyone who's not allergic, the simple white button mushroom is one of the most powerful mushrooms. There's a lot of exotic mushrooms. You've got oyster mushrooms and lion's mane, and they're fantastic. And they can do a lot from a culinary standpoint. But the simple baby, the little white button mushroom is really all you need, and they're more affordable than some of these other mushrooms. So adding them to stir fries or sauteing them as a side dish, just cooking them lightly and adding them to dishes is fantastic. And just like one single mushroom is super powered with nutrition. Scientists think, so they've been shown to reduce anxiety and depression, and to boost mood in studies. And scientists think that it may be due to two compounds in them that act like antioxidants, again, reducing that inflammation. So the first compound is ergothioneine. The second is glutathione. And the mushrooms are also really rich in fiber, and they're rich in the prebiotic fiber, which is a type of fiber healthy bacteria in your gut love. This is the type of fiber that the bacteria just go to town on, they munch on it. And when they eat this type of fiber, that produces compounds that actually help with brain health and, again, to reduce inflammation. And as I just mentioned, the simple white mushroom is just one of the most nutritious. So opt for that if that's accessible to you. Okay. Spice it up. The spices are one of my favorite topics because, I mean, visually, they're beautiful. If you just look at them on the screen, they are just popping with color. And this gives you the indication that they are also loaded with phytonutrients that are going to help to reduce inflammation again. So there are many spices. I just highlighted a few of them here. And like categorizing the cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, that like spicy chai, the fall winter vibe feeling. Those have been shown to help with attention, sharpen memory, and improve sleep. So easy to add into like a chai tea or your oatmeal, or make plant-based muffins out of those spices. Saffron is one that is super intriguing to me. It's getting a lot of media attention. Actually, you can probably see it in supplements. If you've seen any of the brain health supplements, a lot of these supplement companies are adding saffron to the supplements because saffron extract appears to reduce symptoms of depression and can help to improve mood. Personally, I mean, you can add it from a culinary perspective. You can add it to dishes too, and it's delicious. It has a very unique flavor. It's very expensive. I will say that it is definitely gram for gram, like the most expensive spice on the market. But if you do purchase any brain health supplements, looking for one that has saffron could be beneficial. Curcumin, which is the compound found in turmeric, has antioxidant properties, and there's lots of research showing that it can also improve mood. Rosemary is another one that can boost memory just by smelling it. So if you just, have the aroma of rosemary in your kitchen, get it like a bouquet of rosemary on your counter and smell it every so often, it may help to support memory and mood. But then also adding it from a culinary perspective, mincing it and adding it to dishes. It's so delicious, especially this time of year when it's cold. It's delicious in soups and in stews and in casseroles. It adds so much flavor. Carbacrol is one found in oregano. So if you enjoy like Mediterranean or Italian cooking, you may use a lot of oregano. This is another one. Oregano's actually got some really wonderful properties in helping with the immune system as well, but it's also been shown to help to boost those feel-good neurotransmitters. So one tip that I recommend with spices, if they're new to you, or if you, kind of gravitate towards the same spices all the time. A lot of us have garlic and onion and oregano and maybe salt and pepper in our cabinets. And beyond that, maybe you have some that you enjoy. But if you want to expand your world of spices a little bit, consider your favorite cuisine and Google, or you can look it up online. You can find like a wide array of information. Google your favorite cuisine and see what spices, if you love Thai food, look to see, what spices are used in Thai cooking, or what are some typical foods and spices, and start experimenting in your kitchen. Or if you love, Mexican cuisine or Italian or Moroccan, see what spices are commonly used, and maybe select a couple of plant-based dishes using those spices to start getting acquainted with them. And then you're also going to add more nutrition into your diet by doing that. And you'll also have some new recipes for your library if they turn out delicious. Okay, sip on green tea or coffee. So caffeine has definitely been shown to boost attention, help with memory, and improve mood in small amounts. Everyone's caffeine tolerance is different, and the time in which you can reduce the amount of caffeine in your body is different. So some people can have caffeine late at night and fall asleep fine, where others cannot have caffeine past 12 in the afternoon. So everyone's different and their tolerance. So for me personally, I loved coffee my whole life, and I still do like coffee, but I'm personally prone to anxiety, and I really didn't even tie it at the time. It was years ago that I was, jittery, of course, so I would have a couple of cups of coffee in the morning, but I also felt like a heightened sense of anxiety, and I swapped the coffee. It was very hard. I was not in a good mood for a few days when I ditched the coffee. So, apologies for the people around me, but it ended up being the best decision for at least me personally, my anxiety. And there's research showing that, excessive caffeine can promote anxiety, whereas a little bit may help with mood. And then green tea. So I swapped out coffee for green tea. And it was a gradual thing because green tea, matcha tea, and green tea in general can have a bitter, earthy flavor. So it's definitely a different taste than compared to coffee. Doesn't have the same aroma, obviously, when you're like brewing a nice cup of coffee. And not to say coffee's bad, like coffee has a lot of healthy compounds in it. But just if you experience similar what I just mentioned to you. Matcha tea, to mitigate some of that earthiness or that bitterness, what I did at least is I made a dirty matcha just to kind of wean myself off of coffee. So I would do a creamy plant-based milk. So I definitely recommend to get yourself started on a good matcha tea to get either soy milk or oat milk that has the DHA in it. That's like the thick and creamy oat milk. And that creaminess really helps to blend the green tea better and make it more palatable if you're not used to the flavor. And then you can add a shot of coffee or espresso to it if you're like trying to wean off the coffee and maybe switch over to the matcha. Or if you love matcha, keep doing it, and know that it's so good for you because it has compounds in it that it's so interesting, at least from my experience when I started drinking matcha, I still had like that sense of alertness that when I drank coffee, but it wasn't that jitteriness. So it was like a very calm sense of alertness. So like you're more aware and alert, but you're also feeling really calm. So that's what matcha tea can do too. There's research to support that from the L-theanine and the EGCG, two compounds, two phytonutrients that help to produce these feelings. Really good, really powered with antioxidants. So it also helps to reduce inflammation. And I do have a matcha tea recipe on my website. If you'd like that recipe at the end, I could share it. So there you go. So there are your 10 foods or food groups like leafy greens and berries for a healthy brain and happy mind. Okay, so we've got one more food and one more bonus tip for a healthy brain and healthy mind. And then we're going to move into the questions. So I want to see you all again and chat with you all. Okay, so dark chocolate is one of my personal favorite foods in the whole world. It's really good for you. I had a chocolate company for 10 years, and when dark chocolate started getting its media attention because of the research supporting its health benefits, I started making plant-based chocolate by adding like blueberries to it and green tea and pumpkin seeds. And it was a lot of fun. It was fun chocolate tasting. I still love chocolate. I never got tired of it. And it's really good for you in small amounts. So like an ounce to an ounce and a half of dark chocolate, a good quality dark chocolate a day, can really offer lots of phytonutrients, again, that can help to dilate blood vessels. It's been shown, dark chocolate has been shown to reduce blood pressure. Again, it can reduce inflammation because the phytonutrients in dark chocolate act like antioxidants. And then it's also been shown to support cognition and alleviate symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's also rich in magnesium, which again can help you relax. It helps you, it may help to promote sleep in the way there are some studies showing that magnesium can support sleep, and there are some studies that show that it doesn't support sleep. But the mechanism that researchers feel that it works is because magnesium can help you relax. So dark chocolate is a good source of magnesium. And then of course there's the sensory experience. So if you notice the next time you open up a bar of dark chocolate and just like look at it, and I mean, you get excited when you just see the bar, right? So on the grocery store shelf. But when you open it and you see the dark chocolate, you already get a heightened sense of like alertness and mood and excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to eat this piece of dark chocolate. And then you smell it. It's like the rosemary, you smell the dark chocolate and you're all of a sudden your mood is lifted. and then you consume it. So a great way to enjoy dark chocolate is just let it melt in your mouth and just enjoy that whole sensory experience. And that alone, aside from all the nutrition compounds in it, the whole sensory experience can really heighten your mood. So yeah, so you're getting the nutritional benefits, but you're also just like slowly enjoying. It's just like a mindful experience. And another fun fact about dark chocolate is that it has prebiotic fiber, which is, again, the type of fiber that bacteria in your gut love. And then the last bonus tip is you get some sunshine. So vitamin D can act like an antioxidant, again, to reduce inflammation. So it's so important to get enough vitamin D, especially this time of year. You know, I don't know if everyone's from Michigan or from around the country right now, but so many places right now we're not seeing the sunshine as much this time of year. The days are shorter. We're not getting out, especially if we're working indoors. So you may want to consider taking a vitamin D supplement. Of course, always check with your physician or get your vitamin D levels checked to see if you need that. But vitamin D plays a big role in mood. Okay, I really want to see everybody. All right, let's see. Stop
Thanks
screen.
so much, Nichole.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, so Q&A. Let us see. All right, the first question I saw was Noelle asked, how much avocado do you recommend daily? Is one whole avocado too much?
Hi, Noelle. Thanks for the question. No, it's really relative to your own lifestyle and what you're eating throughout the day. And it depends on the size of the avocado. I'm currently visiting California, and the avocados out here are huge. So I probably wouldn't have a whole huge avocado from California. But where I'm from, back in Atlanta, you know, they're average size, small to medium, and I think that's perfectly fine. You know, if you use avocado in the morning and then have half the avocado in the morning and half later at night on, a sandwich, like you have avocado toast in the morning and then have, avocado mixed in something else later on that night, that's perfectly fine. But I think, a half an avocado will do the trick in terms of adding a lot of those nutrients that we talked about in the presentation.
Awesome. Okay, Melissa asked, are there any specific dark chocolate that you would recommend? Maybe a specific brand or just what do you like?
Yeah. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for asking that. And thank you for reminding me because I forgot to mention when I was talking about dark chocolate that it is very important to consider where the chocolate has originated, the brand of the chocolate and how they're manufacturing the chocolate, where they're sourcing their chocolate. So looking for, in general, fair trade or direct trade, looking on the label to make sure that the brand is working directly with farmers, so that it's ethically sourced chocolate. That's really important. So I would say that would be one of the first tips, at least from an ethical perspective in dark chocolate. And then in general, more than 70%, greater than 70% dark chocolate is typically the healthier chocolate, but it really depends on how the chocolate is being processed. I did see somebody mention, be careful of the milk in chocolate. I will share an experience. I went to a store yesterday and I typically have dark chocolate on me all the time, even when I'm traveling, at least like one little bar for a nibble. And I didn't have any. And I went to a store, it seemed like it had like a whole row of dark chocolate. And it was like cardamom chocolate and cinnamon spice. They sounded amazing. And I was about to pick one and just pay for it because it said like 70% dark chocolate. And I looked on the back of every single one of them. There were 5 different bars that said dark chocolate, and they all had milk powder added to them. And I was like, why? You didn't need to do that. But it is important to look at the label. Typically, you want to look for cocoa solids or cacao. It'll say either cocoa solids or cacao solids, or it might say cacao liquor, which is similar. And then typically cane sugar is added, or maybe some other sweetener, and maybe lecithin, soy lecithin, which isn't really needed. But less ingredients, unless they're adding inclusions, like if it's an almond chocolate bar, maybe it has almonds in it or something like that, and that's great. But yeah, so greater than 70%, look at the ingredient label for less ingredients. There are some personal brand. I don't have an affiliation with any of the brands, but there is my very favorite brand is in Atlanta. They're called Chocolato. I can put them in the chat. They have 2 ingredients in their chocolate bar. They're dark chocolate and cane sugar, and they are all organic. They're sourced from farmers that they know well, and they just check all the boxes. And then there's some store-bought brands. Beyond Good is a wonderful chocolate company. I'll write these down in the chat. Chocolato, Beyond Good. They're a little more affordable. They're in the grocery store. You can get them pretty much anywhere. Alter Eco, they're not all vegan, so you want to look at their labels, but they have a lot of really good vegan bars. But those are a few that are pretty readily accessible. That Chocolato is online, and the other 2 are in most grocery stores.
Awesome. So many great chocolate tips. Thank you. I know it's just the worst when there is some milk product in something. You're like, why? This doesn't need to be here. So definitely check out those brands that you recommended. That's great. Okay, the next question is Sandy asked, are white mushrooms better than brown mushrooms?
Honestly, Sandy, you can't go wrong with any mushrooms. So I think whatever's accessible to you, whether it's like accessible and whether you can find it or in terms of price, because mushrooms can sometimes be pretty expensive depending on the type, but brown and white are both tend to be more affordable compared to some of the more exotic mushrooms, but they're both wonderful. So yeah, whichever you enjoy most, I would say consume.
Cool. Love it. Whatever you're able to find is great.
Yes.
Okay. Raina said that was great. Nichole, I hope you're able to see the chat. There's so many wonderful comments. Everyone just loved your presentation. Raina said, would you tweak anything for perimenopause? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I feel like we can do a whole nother presentation on perimenopause. I understand, and I love this topic because there's so much you can do for perimenopause. There's so many symptoms of perimenopause, and every woman experiences something different. Lack of sleep, hot flashes are 2 of the biggest things, and mood disorders or like mood changes. Everything that I talked about here today pretty much applies. I would say like the high fiber foods and the mood supporting foods, all of the nutrients that fight inflammation. I will say on top of that, something I didn't mention today, organic soy products, so like whole food soy, so tofu and tempeh, soy milk and miso, those have been shown to mitigate symptoms of menopause, specifically hot flashes. So try to look for organic whenever you can. It's actually, compared to a lot of organic foods, like organic tofu isn't that much more expensive compared to traditional tofu. And it's actually what you find most often in the store, just because soy is so genetically modified, unless the conventional soy is genetically modified and has a lot of pesticides. So look for organic when you can, but I would add soy. But yeah, and there's some great articles on my website, purelyplanted.com. If you go to the blog and type in the search bar, menopause or perimenopause, there's a series of articles on there and talks a lot about how to mitigate the symptoms of perimenopause.
Awesome.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, thanks everyone for your questions. I am putting Nichole's website in the chat right now, purelyplanted.com. Lots of great stuff there, so definitely check that out in case anyone just wanted the quick link to click. Okay, let me see. What is next? Okay, Barbara said, first of all, thank you. And then her question is, what are your thoughts on raw or high raw diet?
That's a great question, Barbara. Yeah, these are all great questions. A raw diet is fantastic because you're preserving a lot of the nutrients. So when foods are cooked, water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and B vitamins can be lost in cooking. That said, some foods like the fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin K are enhanced when cooking. So it just depends on the nutrients. But there are some studies showing that a raw food diet can be beneficial if you can tolerate it. Now, not everybody can tolerate it because the fiber is not cooked, so it's not soft, and it's, you know, truly roughage that you're eating. So chewing thoroughly not only helps to break down the fiber in raw food, but it also helps to release some more of the nutrients. So we should all be chewing thoroughly and slowly, regardless what raw or not. But with raw eating is extra important because you're getting so much roughage with raw eating. But there's definitely some research to support raw eating. I don't think it's like, you know, it's not something I say that you should have, you know, X amount of raw food. Typically, if you're able to eat plants in any way, shape, or form that you enjoy them, I'm an advocate for that. So if cooked is the only way you can eat them, or the only way you enjoy them, then by all means eat them, consume them cooked. But if you want to do 60% raw or 70% raw, then yeah, I think that's great. It's definitely going to provide some extra nutrition. And I was going to mention one other thing about that. Oh, I was going to just mention that it is time consuming. So, you know, the raw food diet can be more time consuming. There's soaking, there's dehydrating. So I think, you know, incorporating some raw foods, if you have the time to make them, is great. The only other thing I was going to mention is that it may eliminate some cooked foods that we need. Like, you have to cook beans. You have to cook most grains except for buckwheat. You can eat buckwheat raw, and, like, you know, oats, obviously. So the only other downfall I can see with a raw diet is that it may reduce the variety of foods that you're consuming. So a combination of the two, cooked and raw, I think is kind of the best of both worlds.
Cool. Very nice. Okay. Bev says, can you elaborate on phytonutrients? What is it and where do we get it?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that question, Bev. Phytonutrients, technically they're called phytochemicals. I think the media has coined the term phytonutrients, and I even use it in my own website on the blog because it's a friendlier term. I think whenever we see chemical, like some kind of trigger goes off, but they're just plant compounds. Phytochemicals are compounds that plants make that protect plants from environmental factors. So it protects them from insects, from weather. When we cut plants, like if you have a big leafy green of kale and you cut it, it is producing phytochemicals or phytonutrients. When you cut it, it's releasing more phytonutrients. So any kind of injury to the plant, that's its protective mechanism. And it also, so these phytonutrients give plants their vibrant color. So if you walk through the grocery aisle or a farmer's market and you see all these like big, beautiful, colorful, vibrant plants, those are phytonutrients giving plants their colors. So some phytonutrients give plants their colors and others are kind of hidden in the plant. There are thousands of phytonutrients and many that are still being discovered. So plants make them. Some animal products have them because animals, for example, cows eat grass. Grass has its own set of phytonutrients. So you will find some in animal products, but not to the extent that you're finding in plant-based foods because you're eating the source of phytonutrients. So plants make them to protect themselves against these elements. And when we eat them, they protect us. They act like antioxidants in our body, many of them. So for example, blueberries have a phytonutrient called anthocyanins. It gives the blueberries their beautiful blue purple hue. These anthocyanins have been shown to protect brain health and act like an antioxidant, protecting the brain and cognition, enhancing memory. It can also, the phytonutrients in blueberries also feed healthy bacteria in the gut. So they act as a food source for healthy bacteria in the gut. So there's many things. We could talk all day on phytonutrients. Again, thank you for sharing the website, Olivia. There is an article on my website. If you type in phytonutrients, there's an article dedicated to phytonutrients, and it breaks down what they are and highlights some of the key phytonutrients that you'll find in these plant-based foods. So you're getting them in abundance in plant-based when you add plants to your plate. And the more color in general, the more colors you're adding to your plate, the more variety, the greater variety of phytonutrients that you're going to get. I usually recommend like an average, just to get a variety, because a variety of plant-based foods helps to not only like foster gut health, but it means you're getting a variety of nutrients, including the phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals, the essential nutrients. I usually recommend like, look at your plate and count your colors. Do you have at least 3 colors on your plate? So if you're eating a sandwich, do you have 3 colors on that sandwich? Maybe it's a black bean burger. Add some leafy greens, add tomato, add red onion or avocado. Go for 4 or 5 colors if you want. But but just, kind of being cognizant and aware, like, are there 3 colors here? And you can go for more, but at least 3 colors with every meal. And tan and white count as color. So like oatmeal is your tan color. Maybe you add some blueberries to it and banana for your yellow or something, get creative.
I love it. That's awesome. So phytonutrients are what's making all these foods so beautiful to look at. That's great. I'll definitely check out that article on your website. Okay, we have, I think, just 2 more questions and then we will do the raffle. So the next question is, Susie is asking if you have recommendations for bone health.
Yes. Y'all have great questions. So bone health, a few things. The most important thing is getting enough calories. With plant-based eating, one of the most common things that I see when people start to transition to more plants is that they tend to actually not get enough calories. And that's why plant-based eating is often recommended for weight management, because it's high in fiber and plant-based foods are high in water. So they fill us up quickly and they naturally, I don't know if anyone has seen the new Netflix series called You Are What You Eat, that they looked at 22 sets of twins. One twin got an omnivore diet, one twin got the plant-based diet, and naturally both groups ended up adding many more plant-based foods to their plates, and their calories went way down. They were not instructed to follow calories at all, but they ended up eating like 200 calories less a day because they were adding plant-based foods. So just naturally they were full more quickly. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because when it comes to bone health, getting enough calories to support bone health is really important, and enough protein. And that's another thing, when people take meat off their plate or dairy off their plate, and this happened to me when I went plant-based. As a dietitian, I wasn't taught how to eat all plants and have it be sustainable. So when I removed meat and dairy from my plate, I was like, I was offering my husband and I pasta every night. I'm like, I don't know what to make. So it takes some time, and it's really important to get in those high protein substitutes like beans and lentils and tofu, tempeh, nuts, seeds, whole grains. Whole grains are a wonderful source of protein. So for bone health, getting enough calories for your needs, getting enough protein, a wide variety of foods again, because we often think of calcium as the main component of bones, which it is a very big component, but it's not the only nutrient in bones that's important for bone health. We also need vitamin C for bone health. We need omega-3 fatty acids for bone health. We need protein, as I mentioned, magnesium. So again, that wide variety of foods. So those are the top 3 things: enough calories, protein, and a wide variety of foods. And then in some cases, calcium, magnesium, vitamin K, vitamin D, they're all very important. If you find that you're not getting enough calcium on a plant-based diet, or enough of these nutrients, there may be room for some supplementation, but I would definitely recommend meeting with somebody. You don't want to over supplement calcium. It can be detrimental in high amounts, as can many nutrients. So supplementation is not benign, but it's meant to do it. It's called supplement. So getting most of your nutrients from a whole plant-based diet, and then supplement where there may be some nutrient gaps. The same thing goes for omega-3 fatty acids that I wanted to mention just real quickly, Olivia, sorry, but I mentioned walnuts and the hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax meal. They're all wonderful sources of omega-3 fatty acids. There's one type of omega fatty acid called DHA that our brain needs. The type of omega-3 fatty acid in plant-based foods is wonderful for inflammation and can fight inflammation throughout the body. But it converts in very small amounts to the type of omega-3 fatty acid that our brain needs. So I often recommend, if you're unsure if you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids, there's a test called the omega-3 index that you can get you can ask your physician about it. They do have some of those at-home test kits. then can you find one that's reliable and see that your index is okay. And if it's not, then I do recommend supplementing with an algae-based omega-3 supplement to protect the brain, to protect your brain health. So something to consider.
Awesome. Okay. You are such a wealth of information. I'll definitely be watching this back to review everything you've said. Okay, so we are a little past 7:30, but there's just one more question I think we have time for, and then we will get to the raffle for Nichole's book. Someone said, if allergic to caffeine, or maybe just it doesn't sit well with them, are there other things with similar benefits to tea or coffee that you might recommend?
Oh, good question. There's some caffeine free tea, of course, like green tea that's caffeine free. And then there's caffeine free coffee, of course, but there might be like trace amounts of caffeine. So I don't know how allergic you are. So always check with the company and your own limitations. Cacao, I don't know any cacao because like the theobromine in cacao naturally has some caffeine in it. There's a substance in it called theobromine. It's in the same family as caffeine, so it may still produce the same effect that you get with caffeine. So it's hard to say if that would be an okay option. Other than that, what these compounds do, I mean, yeah, they have like a stimulatory effect on your brain that help you feel alert and awake. I would say that's a really good question. I'm trying to think if there are any other compounds or any other foods that like would offer L-theanine or EGCG that you find in green tea, but I'd have to get back to you on that because I really don't know if there are any other foods that offer that. There could be, but it's a great question. And I would say just, incorporating some of these foods is going to help to naturally produce these neurotransmitters that give you a sense of alertness, or like that feel good neurotransmitter, serotonin, or GABA, this another neurotransmitter that helps us to feel calm and relaxed. So overall, whole food plant-based is going to promote that. But I can definitely get back to you. I think that's a great question and would love to know myself. There are like the similar compounds you find in green tea and other foods. So thank you.